All right, everybody, we're back in the glorious studios in some deserted island in paradise with my co-pilot here, Adam. Adam is a oxygen specialist at Oxy Medical, and he has a very vast education and background in quite a few different practices revolving yoga. And he is quite a specialist and someone on staff that we would like to share with you folks. As we know, we have a lot of patients that are looking at easy ways to exercise, very, key things that Adam can share with you guys. And this is something we hope to do from now on. Adam, why don't you kind of give us a background of what you went to study in your education?
Sure. Yeah. My yoga journey started about 10 years ago. I got involved with a gym community which had yoga classes there, and I started taking classes, got very interested in it because immediately, not only did my body feel better, but I could tell that my breathing actually increased in terms of quality. I could take deeper breaths, my heart rate was more relaxed, I didn't feel nearly as stressed anymore. And so I fell in love with the yogic practice immediately. From there, I took a few yoga classes that were teaching me how to approach the subject. So they would teach me how to do the asanas, which are the postures, but more importantly, they started teaching me different breathing techniques. What I learned from those breathing techniques is that, in general, most of the population is breathing incorrectly, not because any one of us are stupid or anything like that, but it's more like we were never taught how to breathe the best way for our body. And so I got a lot of great information out of those few courses. I started moving on. I moved to Denver, Colorado to pursue a higher education in yoga. I went to a university called Naropa University, where I studied yoga for 4 more years and completed my 1,000-hour teaching certification. And from there, my yogic practice has just blossomed. And honestly, it's just something that I like to share with people. It's something that I'm deeply interested in, and most people can benefit from this just from very simple practices.
Yeah, and Adam, I think what's important to mention to our folks is you have experience working with all sorts of different kind of people, right? I think personally for me and for some other people, when they see yoga or when they hear yoga, they think it's this intricate, very difficult form of exercise. And I think what you've taught, and for you guys that don't know, when typically, a few times a week when we get to work, Adam will give us a yoga class first thing in the morning. And at first, us manly men were kind of discouraged by it. But after the first week, we started to see the huge increases of mind clarity, being a bit more calm during the day, um, elevated mood, better sleep quality, better, metabolism. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, what I think is important is you've worked with young people, you've worked with people in the middle, and you've worked with people that are older and maybe starting their journey. So, kind of walk through, with our oxygen users, just how simple this is and maybe downplay the difficulty of starting if no one's ever done it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like Stan said, you can do this at any age. I've taught to all demographics here. It is as simple as just starting to bring more awareness to simple things like your posture. So for instance, if you're working at a desk or perhaps you're making dinner frequently or making meals, you're going to find yourself hunched over all the time. You find your shoulders hunched over, you find yourself with a rounded back. And if you think about the anatomy of that, you can imagine that your lungs are quite literally collapsing inward. You can't breathe nearly as well because there's not enough space for your lungs to actually expand. And that comes strictly from your posture. Now, I know that sounds simple, but it is simple. It is part of yoga. And one of the very simple parts of it is just you improve your posture. You improve your awareness of your posture. You improve the awareness of what hurts and what doesn't hurt. You improve, like Stan said, it's more like just improving the awareness around your mood, your sleep quality, different and anatomical parts. Now, I teach chair yoga here over at Oxy Medical here, and it's been a fantastic journey already. I've taught chair yoga for about 4 years already, and it is very simple to get into. All you need is a chair or some kind of flat surface, but the benefits from doing a practice like this are just astronomical. You begin to learn how to open up the rib cage. You begin to learn how to keep your spine nice and erect. You'll begin to learn how to breathe the appropriate way. And that's what I'm here for. That's something that I really enjoy.
And for our oxygen patients, the biggest thing that we always hear from them is there's different days. They have better days, they have worse days, but air quality plays a role. Some folks who have COPD, may also have asthma. Folks may catch a cold. Can you specify specifically for an oxygen patient why it's probably the most needed and important exercise to do? Like, explain to us how it opens up the lungs, how it opens up and helps people maybe have a better respiration cycle. People can, bring the heart rate down. Give us the rundown of just how that process works.
Absolutely. So one thing to keep in mind here is that no system in your body operates independently. They're all interconnected. So one thing that is helpful with something like yoga, especially in older generation, is that when you are stressed, both mentally or physically, your body reacts to that, and especially with the way that you breathe. So for instance, perhaps you have a kink in your neck, and it's been like that for years, and you hold it in your neck. You try all these different stretches, you try and do what you can. It still hurts. That pain is a stress on your body, and because you have a stress in your body, you're likely to breathe a little bit more shallowly. Because you're breathing a little bit more shallowly, your heart rate's going to rise. If your heart rate rises, it begins to stress your mind out a little bit more, and the cycle continues that way. Now, what yoga teaches you is how to identify that stress and kind of isolate it so that it's not giving all these negative side effects the way it typically does. What yoga teaches you is that you can have that neck pain, but then you can begin to breathe a little bit slower to help counteract that pain. You can start breathing from your diaphragm, expanding your belly, which would lower the heart rate and also fill your lungs a little bit more accurately, a little bit more, just to fill them out more. You understand? So that's just a small example there. It's just a matter of figuring out.
And that's a very important example. I've been to respiratory therapy school. In school, when dealing with patients, they teach you to help patients relax. And it's funny because relax is such a broad definition of staying calm, taking deep breaths, and trying to be mindful of being stress-free. So what I also have noticed is over the last couple of years, especially during the pandemic, there's been a lot of funded studies and clinical studies, even by the NIH, on yoga being a form of medicine. In the past, I think people, maybe have not necessarily thought that could be possible. And, to be fair, we have a lot of patients who grew up in a era where you work hard, from early in the morning to the late after, evening, and they never knew how to de-stress, or maybe some people would just bottle it up. And then now a lot of folks have chronic disease like COPD. So these studies are showing that you can take anybody from as early as the age of 5 years old, right? In schools, they're teaching kids how to be, mindful, right? How to calm down, right? And then they also showed a study of a group of people that were between the ages of 70 and 80 years old who had one or two different chronic diseases. And the study showed, and the placebo was they took some of the patients and did absolutely nothing with them other than sat them in a room, and that was it. And then the other half did yoga. And the way they described it was meditative breathing along with some stretches. No movement is bad. And I think they did basic stretches with, meditative breathing, what they considered to be yoga. And what they showed was after, I think, the first 2 sessions, the study showed that people's respiratory markers increased. Their saturation of oxygen in their blood went up. Their heart rates went down. The mood was better. The sleep was better. So they decided to run the study a little bit further. I believe the study went up to 3 months. Okay. And after 3 months, there were people who were able to decrease the amount of oxygen they required. They did this with some oxygen users, and they did this with people who just had chronic disease. And after a 6-month follow-up, I believe of 1,200 people that they signed up for this program, almost 90% of them stayed with yoga on their own. And the comments, when I was reading some of the comments, were people did not realize how easy it is to do and how rewarding it is once you do it every day. So what I want you to kind of explain is give us like your thought process on why yoga is probably the best, newest medicine that still hasn't really reached the masses in our target population of the folks that we work with. So if you were to be talking to a patient right now and they're basically told you they're not getting any exercise, how would you say, hey, this is something you can simply do, and here's why you need to do it?
Well, to reference just that study right there, it is as simple as that. You won't realize how beneficial it is until you start taking some action. And that's a comment that I get all of the time between my classes with my younger generation, middle generation, and older generation. It's surprising because you don't realize how much your body needs certain types of movement and certain types of breathing in order to fully function at max capacity. Now, if I were talking to a client that said, hey, I feel like I can't move. I feel like I can't breathe appropriately. Yoga is very scary. I listen to that and I understand completely, because I felt the same way when I first started. I thought I could not do it. But what I would tell them is that, hey, all it takes is just to take 5 minutes of your day to sit in a chair and close your eyes, sit up nice and tall, just begin to breathe nice, slow, deep breaths. Again, I know that sounds simple. I know that sounds almost like a gimmick, but it really works. And the reason that works is because, like I mentioned before, no system acts independently. So when you take 5 minutes of your day to sit and breathe deeply, what you're doing to your body is you're saying that you're going to relax for these 5 minutes. You're going to fill your body with oxygen in a much more rhythmic way. You're not going to be hyperventilating. You're not going to be stressing about what you're going to do for the next 10 minutes. You're going to be just in that moment. What happens is your mind begins to relax. Your body begins to relax. Your body actually begins to produce more oxygen. It actually allows the circulation in your body to open up a little bit more. And if you suffer from COPD or diabetes or something like that, you realize that the circulation is a huge component to how you feel, So if you can allow your body to just relax for a few minutes each day, that's yoga.
That's literally it. It's, you don't have to go to a 30-minute class, right? And yoga's free.
You can do it anywhere at any time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be some high heart rate experience. No. It is literally sitting down and allowing your body to process the day's
Right.
information and allowing your body to just relax for a moment and truly relax, a conscious
Yeah.
relaxation.
Yeah. And so, my son came home a couple of days ago and he said, Dad, school was okay, but I didn't have a good time in one of my classes. So, my teacher told me to go outside and do some mindfulness during recess. I said, "Oh, okay. Well, what does that entail?" And they teach kids that, if something's bothering you or you're not having a good time, to go outside. They have a couple of benches. They sit on the bench, they close their eyes, and they just take deep breaths, count to 4, and then they exhale and count to 4, which is box breathing, right?
Mhm.
And I sat there and I looked at him and I said, son, that's amazing, because we sometimes are in a stressful environment, and we sometimes get very stressed about things we can't control, and we forget to breathe and just relax the mind. And I think what yoga does specifically is you can do it in your home. You can go outside, do it outside your house. It's getting warm almost everywhere now. If the temperatures are warm, they can take their concentrator with them. They can go outside, do it at a park bench, maybe do it at a park. Bring a friend, right? I think the coolest thing about starting out yoga is it kind of feels funny at first, but when you have a friend you're doing it with, you both look kind of funny. And when you got 2 or 3 people that look kind of funny, then you know that everyone's enjoying it and everyone's benefiting from it. Um, what's been your best experience that you have had a patient come to you, and they started the process with you on yoga? Kind of give someone at home, like, what's the coolest thing that you've ever had experience with yoga? Either you doing yoga or you teaching somebody, and how did that turn out?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can give examples for both. So when it was probably about 3 or 4 years ago, but it happens actually pretty frequently here. I'll be teaching a client, 60s, 70 years old, and what they frequently uh, complain about is having back problems. Even people as young as 20 and 30 years old, they also had back problems. They started doing some of these practices here, not only the breathing work, but just a few simple stretches that take 10 minutes a day. And these people would come back to me and say, hey, that practice that you did, that made my back feel better for the rest of the day. They come back the next day. We do some more of those same stretches. It felt great that day too. And it would keep on happening day after day. And actually, after about 3 weeks, I think it was, they said their pains subsided substantially. They can go to bed. They feel they can actually relax and actually have a good night's sleep. They're not tossing and turning anymore. And sleep is one of those things that if
Yeah.
you're not getting a good quality sleep all the time, you
It's rough.
yeah, the rest of the day is rough, and you're in a bad mood, which precipitates even worse events to happen. When you're in a bad mood, it just there's nothing that good that follows, right? With my own practice, when I started getting into this, I couldn't touch my toes, and I'm sure that's sure for everyone. But I started practicing. It probably took me about 6 months or so, but with regular 10-minute practices, about three times a week, I could touch my toes. And that mile marker doesn't seem like a big one right there, but what it really was doing was it was releasing my hamstrings. It was allowing my back to relax a little bit more, which allowed me to stand up a little bit taller, which if you don't know me, I'm actually already a pretty tall guy, but I legitimately gained an entire inch on my body. And it wasn't long after that, I went to go see the doctor. I was having some medical issues at the time, and they needed to examine my spine. But they commented that my spine was in near perfect condition, that they hadn't seen anyone's spine look like that in who knows how long. And that feeling just felt fantastic to me because I couldn't, it it was just a cool experience to know that like my spine was in complete alignment at that point. I knew that my body was acting in accordance to what it was structurally designed to do, which makes you feel unstoppable. Sure. That feeling is incredible. You know,
that's cool. Yeah, I think that's something that we've all also during our morning yoga, we've all had the feelings of, oh, you know, my legs are so much, you know, more mobile, you know, I'm not getting the same sore pains. So that's something interesting that you mentioned is, you know, you see small increases in improvement every time you do it. You know, I think you can start off 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes every other day. And then naturally you find people who increase and say, okay, I'm going to do 15 minutes today. So it's pretty easy. I want to point out to you guys that Adam is, you know, doing chair yoga and other simple yoga videos all the time. You know, they're on our website. There'll be a link on the page for this podcast so you guys can watch these videos. If anybody out there is interested, you know, Adam runs a special at Oxy Medical. If you mention chair yoga, you can get $250 off a purchase of a brand new portable concentrator. And, you know, he also does offer the opportunity to just help somebody who's starting off in the yoga journey, who wants to ask him questions of, you know, hey, I'm dealing with a bad back and I also use a concentrator. How would you recommend I do this? Adam, do you want to kind of point out how people can get a hold of you and
yeah, it's as simple as just giving me a call, and I can give you my number. But you know, just if you are having any issues and you have any interest in getting into yoga, I'm here. I can help you. I can make this an easy process for you. I will take away that fear. I'll show you how simple it is and how much better your quality of life will be in just as short as a week or two. You know, it really doesn't take very long, and you will feel the difference both in your daytime life and your nighttime life, with your relationships, with your work life, with your kids, with your parents, with your spouse. All these levels will improve simply by just giving yourself some time. And yeah, if you have any questions, my phone number is 720-741-1964. And we're here 24/7. You can give me a call, send me a text. I'm happy to help you anytime.
Yeah. Don't forget to mention Chair Yoga, which is a special coupon we designed for anybody calling who listens to the podcast or the videos. And Adam will help fit your oxygen concentrator to your need, and that'll get you $250 off. All right, Adam, thanks for coming in today. I know we work here, but thanks for coming into this super duper secret studio, which is also your office. And we'll be back with some more podcasts in the future. I think this is an interesting topic. And as people get to see more videos, I think we'll kind of elaborate a little bit further on some stuff. So appreciate you sharing the wealth and knowledge.
Sounds great, man.